Alright guys, so today's video is all about authentication. A lot of people have been asking me about authentication, so I figured I'd make a video on it so that way everybody who has asked me can just reference the video. And if you get more questions, then feel free to ask that in the comments or reach out to me. Basically, the way I do my authentication for like login and sign up is I use JSON Web Token and then I also use Bcrypt. So these are two libraries that allow me to create a token and create a hash for my uh, user credentials. So the way this will work is basically I have you want to set up a couple of routes. So obviously you would have your sign up route and then you would have like your login route. So there's a couple bits of logic that I use in each of those, and I also want to just give thanks to one of my friends named Ronnie. He showed me a lot of this, so I would just want to give credit to that. I'm not quite sure if I never really watched any videos on JSON Web Token and Bcrypt, so you might could do a lot more with the stuff, but this is just my knowledge and my scope, so that's why I say this is how I use Bcrypt and JSON Web Token for authentication. But the first thing you're gonna want to do is um, you're gonna want to pop your terminal open, and you're going to want to type in npm install in whatever directory that you're trying to add this in. So in my case, as you can see, if I drop all these files, drop all these, I basically have a root directory called Netflix clone because that's what I'm working on currently, and I have a backend folder. So I want to go into my backend folder because that's where all my this is going to be built on the backend. All this is backend stuff. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to do npm install. I'm going to do an npm install JSON Web Token just like this. And you can add a space right here, and that's going to allow you to type something else. So if you look, I already have typed this before, bcrypt, just like that. You hit enter. It's going to go pretty fast for me because I already have them installed. And after that, you'll notice that they're in your package JSON right here, bcrypt and JSON Web Token. So then you're going to want to head over and make a route, right? So you're going to want to make a route for your sign up. So assuming you know what that is, if not, I'll make a video on that, and that way you guys could kind of understand. But I'm assuming if you're watching this video right here that you already kind of know how to make a route and set up an express server with the basics. So I set my folders up into different things. Controllers are just basically the functions that get ran in your routes. So we'll have a sign up controller that gets ran. So if you look right here, I'm doing an import JWT. So because this is a um, named basically module, you can call it whatever you want, but the convention is called JWT from what I've seen. And I'm also doing just JSON Web Token in this case because this is just like if a user is being signed up. Um, if you look right here, we're basically creating a user, and in this, we're going to take, like, for example, maybe they filled out a form or something on the front end. They're going to give me the name, email, username, and maybe phone number. And from there, we're going to get that with the request body. So we're going to get the information that they send us. Then we're going to make a query to the database. So right here, I'm using Postgres, PGSQL. And basically all I'm saying is, hey, I want you to look and see if this user exists. If the user exists, then I want you to throw an error, basically not allowing them to keep going forward because they already have an account. So that means they need to go log in, not make an account. If that's not the case, that means they're brand new. We need to create their account. In this case, we're creating a new user, and that's just another query into the database. And then from there, since I'm doing a Netflix clone, I create them a list too so they can add favorite movies. You could do whatever kind of logic you need to do here. And then this is where you create them a token. So the way you could create them a token is you just use this syntax right here, JWT, and there's a method on that object, which is a .sign, and that basically just takes a unique identifier about that person. So usually in SQL or anything, you can do like a returning all, or whenever you do a select, it will return you that person's information, and usually it creates a new ID. So that's how you can have a unique identifier for all your columns and your users in your database. So I take that ID, and then I also take, you can use anything for this, but if you go to .env, I'm using this right here. Basically, I'm just saying this in a nutshell. You can put any string you want right here. but most of the time you'd want to do something a little bit more advanced than that. But that's just what I've been using because it's just a Netflix clone I'm working on, so it's nothing crazy. But I get that from my .env, and then what you're gonna want to return is you're gonna want to return their token. So that way on the front end, if they have a token, that means they're logged in so they can access other things that logged in users could access. And from there, what you're going to want to do, you're probably wondering, well, where's the bcrypt at? Where's the hashing at? So I have this auth.js file that basically does a lot of that for me. So this is a lot of bcrypt right here. So you're going to create something called salt rounds. Salt rounds is basically just how many times your password is going to get hashed. Salt is just like a sprinkle of like hashing on your password. And right here, this is like a hash middleware. This is actually what I got from Ronnie, which is pretty cool. Basically, it's just a middleware that you can put inside your routes, or before you hit your routes, that will take that password and it'll hash it for you. And basically, you really only want this on the sign up routes because that's when the password's created, right? And this will only hash when that password gets created into the database. So if that user already exists, like we checked with the email, then this will not get put into the database regardless. So it takes the password. If the password is true and the original URL is not user's login or password, basically saying if they're not logged in or if they're not logging in, then we're going to do a method on bcrypt that's basically called .hash. And what that takes is, for the first one, it takes the password that you're hashing. So that's the password they send through the body, which is coming from a form. And then you're going to have the salt rounds, which is how many times you want to hash it. And then you're going to have two parameters right here, an error and the hash password. And basically, if there's an error, you want to return some type of, status 500 code and basically say you had an error hashing the password. Else, you're going to want to set the request body, so the new password the password that's in the body now is basically going to get set to the hash password. So now you have a hash password. And this next is basically just saying, I want you to go to the next thing, because middleware won't keep going. You'll basically just stop and you'll never reach any of your other your routes if you don't add this next. And this else is basically just saying, if all this isn't true, then I just want you to go next because it's not valid anyway. And that gets used over here in my middleware. So if you look right here on the sign up, you can add another parameter right here, which just takes a middleware, and that middleware is just hashing the password. So for those of you who are wondering how the password just got hashed when I was explaining that. From there, now that's the sign up portion. So the login is pretty much similar, but now it's a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about too much bcrypt. You just have to make sure you can compare the passwords. So the way you do that is you would take the information that they give you from the form, so their email and their password, and you would basically select everything. You basically grab that user's information that you have in the database, and you would set a variable called isValid. And this is going to become true or false, and that's going to become true or false from the method that's on bcrypt. So bcrypt has a method called compareSync, and what this does is it takes the password that they entered into the form, and it takes the password that they have in the database, and it unhashes the database password, and it compares them. And if they're the same, then this is going to be true. So this is basically just some error handling. If it's not true, then it's going to throw an error and say invalid password because that's what it is. Then once again, you're going to create another token the same way we did before, and from there you're going to basically send that token back along with the user as well, because maybe you might want to use that user information somewhere where it says like, hey, welcome back, Will, like, or something like that, to make it more customized for them on the website. And then this is just some handling. Keep in mind that these functions have to be async, and that's pretty much how I do authentication. I want to thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you. Make sure that you join the Discord in the description down below. We do a lot of different things on there, but basically we have a lot of cool communities and people on there that gather around, and we all kind of share our knowledge on coding. There's a lot of good ways to get like one-on-one coaching on there as well. Different good stuff for just advancing your career, especially if you're new to coding. I really recommend it. Also, follow my social medias, links in the description down below. And I'm live streaming on Kick right now, actually. So if you go over to Kick and YouTube, you can actually see my live streams. I'm gonna be trying to push for Kick a lot more, just because I really think it's going places. So if you want to see me live stream and do more things like this and learn more, sometimes I'm over active on Kick, so give me a follow over there so you can get a notification for that. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in this video right up here where I'm talking about some more dev related stuff. So I'll see you over there.